Jake here with Action for Liberty. Welcome back to our show where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. And the corporate media won't ever report on what we're going to talk about today because it's what they call misinformation. How dare you talk about vaccines? You can't do that. And if we were still on YouTube, we wouldn't be able to talk to you at all about it. Dawson, pull this up real quick. The community strikes we have against this. Here's our current status on YouTube. And this is why we're not posting on YouTube right now. So I assume most of you guys are coming to us on either Facebook or Rumble. Looks like our first strike, which happened on September 20th, expires on December 19th. So we're playing this little game with YouTube. If we get another strike, we're done. They remove all content. Now, granted, go back to that real quick. You see that third one on the bottom? That was medical misinformation. We had a Mayo-trained doctor on our show, and they say it's medical misinformation. It's unbelievable, ridiculous stuff. And just so the record shows, the first strike against us was when we did a video. I wasn't even in it, and it was just Jesse responding to Joe Biden. That's our first strike. So in studio with me right now is Mr. Dangerous himself, MAGA Jesse. How you doing?
You know, I'm doing good. I think we got some good things to talk about. We got the good, the bad, and some MAGA news to get into, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, you keep selling that, my friend. All right. This is important stuff. Dawson, pull up the Minnesota Department of Health's news release, and you can go to actionforliberty.com. It's our latest article if you want to pull up these sources yourself. But this is from the Minnesota Department of Health under Jan Malcolm, and they write, health officials urge parents to get their children vaccinated against COVID-19. Children age 6 months through 5 years now eligible for the updated COVID-19 vaccine dose. Now, last I checked, MAGA, Jesse, that is a baby.
Exactly. Yep, I'm right there with you. 6 months to 5 years, that's a baby, and they want to force these experimental jabs into them.
Well, luckily they're not forcing it yet, but they're urging, and urging is a pretty strong word. It goes on to read, the Minnesota Department of Health, MDH here, if we refer to it that way, is urging parents to get their children vaccinated against COVID-19 and to make sure they and the entire family are up to date as the holidays approach, because it's very important. Now, 2 years ago, Governor Walz, tyrant wannabe Governor Walz, said you couldn't even go visit your family during the holidays.
Right.
That was banned. That was banned activity. So now you can, but you got to get vaccinated. Go get vaccinated. They go on to talk about how the Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control Prevention, CDC. Well, I don't know why it's not CDCP. CDCP. What was the, kind of sounds like Communist Party, right?
Yeah, right.
That's probably why they don't do it, CDCP.
CCP,
because they always say Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, but there's no P in it. I bet that's why they did it.
Yep.
So they expand the recommendations for children aged 6 months through 5 years to receive an updated COVID-19 vaccine dose to help increase their protection against currently circulating variants. Vaccine doses for children 6 months through 5 years are arriving in the state now. Then they go on to write, and this is the problem, this is why they're pushing it. Children younger than 5 years first became eligible for COVID vaccines in June. However, vaccination rates for these youngest Minnesotans remain very low across the state. Less than 17% of children aged 6 months and 4 years have received at least one dose, and less than 5% of those children in this age group are up to date on their COVID vaccines. It's very interesting stuff.
Right.
Apparently, parents aren't buying into this bullshit.
Yep, and they don't even want us to question it. That's why they had us removed from YouTube. They don't want, even the doctors, Dr. Neil Shah, a very highly thought of person. He was, explaining things in a very factual, science-based way, and they don't want people to even think about this. They just want people to take their children in, do whatever they're told. So
do what you're told, and yet they can't even get more than 5% to do what they're told. 17% somehow miraculously even got one dose, which is unbelievable.
Right.
I'm going to pull up those charts, but I want to go to an article and a video that was produced by Kara Levin back in June. So when they first rollout of the children's vaccines, I don't know if I wonder if it's just the same thing, but it's like a microdose. I don't know the science behind that part, but like if it's not an actually different vaccine for the children, I'm just guessing it's less potent.
Right. I would imagine that that's the case too, that it's a smaller amount, but it's still a very weird thing for them to be pushing, and we don't have the true facts on these yet on how it's affecting the children, how it's even affecting adults, and we may not know for years to come.
Well, or ever, because they suppress any kind of information. That's
right.
The thing is when YouTube takes down our video that discusses the potential risks of the vaccine, they take it down. So how will we ever know about the potential risk? It's just common sense here. Vaccines take a decade or more to produce and to understand and get behind the science and the testing and all that. And they didn't do that here. They sped it up. It's like, well, did the science all of a sudden change? No, the science didn't change.
Yeah.
You didn't use the method that we always use for vaccines. And not all vaccines are bad. That's the problem. Is like there are a lot of good vaccines. They've done great things.
Right.
But you don't just try this as an experiment on the mass, especially don't do this in a pandemic. Pull up this CARE 11. Do you still have that video somewhat timestamped to that same spot, Dawson? Yeah, they always got to run through the ad. What's the title of this article? Oh, look, we got that breaking news. Watch out for the storm coming, right? Live. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, it's roughly about there. I want you to watch. Go to the beginning of this doctor. She's like in pediatrics and children's. I'm going to get my headset here. Just listen to how they're talking. Now, this is back in June, but remember in June, we knew a lot about this vaccine. We knew that there was problems already with it, spike in myocarditis. I think there was a study that suggested that there's a higher risk in young men or young boys in getting myocarditis than actually contracting COVID. I stated that really weird. Higher chance when getting the vaccine as opposed to getting myocarditis from actually getting COVID.
Right.
And then we also knew that at this point you couldn't actually stop the spread once you get the vaccine. That was bullshit when they said this. So let's play this video real quick.
In vaccination for the 6-month to 4-year age group than we would really like.
MDH data shows only 5% of kids younger than 5 have gotten a first dose in their first 3 weeks of eligibility, totaling nearly 15,000.
The more little children that we can get vaccinated and protected, the fewer carriers we may have.
Dr. Andrea Singh
Wow.
is the chair of pediatrics.
All right, look at that. That's the lies. They've been saying this from the get-go. And I don't remember what timestamp it is, but that one doctor that was out there also was saying safe and effective. And that's all they say, safe and effective. It's just use the talking points, safe and effective. We'll all believe it.
Yep.
But she's literally saying something we knew isn't true at that point.
Right. You know, they mix up their own talking points. They can't even remember what's factual or what's not anymore because their story keeps changing. You know, luckily we've been consistent throughout this entire thing, and we've been calling it all out, and we've known from the beginning what a sham everything is. But you know, there's people out there that are just buying whatever the media tells them, and the media is feeding them all these lies, and they can't even keep their own story straight.
Well, I don't know if I would say we've been consistent because we just don't know.
Sure.
You know, at the beginning of this thing, I was very hopeful that this new mRNA technology would work. It'd be great for science and human health if it worked, right? So bullshit. And then anytime someone like us wants to bring up the risk of the vaccine, you get silenced. So thank God for Rumble. I mean, Facebook. If you don't see our news feed on vaccines, just go to our Facebook page. Dawson, I guess could you pull it up on the fly here? All right, I don't know if it's on that computer. If it's up, you could just see like the reaction we get on Facebook to a lot of our posts. You know, I think just in the last 24 hours, one with like 200 some likes. There you go. So scroll down. Keep going. All right, there's a good one. We fight so you aren't forced against your will to put something in your body you don't want. Okay, now that's just I guess body could be the trigger word, but right there I'm not using vaccines, and I do that purposely not to put like vaccines in there. And you see, what is that? 237 likes? Is that what it says there? Okay, there you go. So that looks like what the power of our Facebook page is. Now scroll up. Here I post an article, and this is the article linked to, and we have 4 likes. Right? And why do we have 4 likes? Well, their algorithm says this person's talking about vaccines. The title says it says shot. I think that's one of the things that they do. I mean, I try my butt off to get this. Like even in the text, I go experimental medical drug. The other thing is Facebook seems to really crack down on anyone trying to send you to an external link. They want to keep you on their platform in the metaverse, right? So there's an external link because those are dangerous. It might send you to some misinformation. So you see what I'm saying? This is like what we see. So this doesn't end up on people's news feeds. And anytime I post on vaccines especially, I'm always like, just right in the comment section, I see it. And and I could show you the statistic behind it. They suppress it.
Right, and shadow banning is real. That was a thing for a while where people were questioning, is this even happening? But come to find out, it's happening across all these social media platforms, that they were shadow banning anybody who said anything that was out of line of the general mission of them. And the big one was over these jabs.
Exactly. What do you got, Dustin?
Speaking of shadow banning, we're at an all-time low for Facebook streaming watchers too. And this is conspiracy theory mode, but it sounds a little bit like your post is immediately leading Facebook to not bring people to the stream.
Yeah. Well, what do we? You know what? Now that we don't. Oh yeah, we only have 2 people watching live.
That's
Facebook.
never happened ever.
Oh, I hope people went to Rumble. You know, I just realized since we don't have Bridget here, I guess I should be reading the comments here. Okay. Do you monitor the comments on Rumble? Are you able to do that? Or you monitor Rumble? I will monitor Facebook.
We have one for Rumble right now.
Oh yeah, they don't want us talking about this stuff. It's so ridiculous. I mean, this is the whole part of the community. There's a good section of your community, Facebook, that really cares about this issue. Trust me, I know.
Yep.
And you suppress it. Okay. Anyhow, I see Nathan Wiesenberg writes America on there, so America. Moving on, I want to bring up the data here from Minnesota Department of Health, and this is why they're making this push, okay? Well, plus, 2023, the immunization schedule preferred by the CDC says your kid should get the shot. Your baby should get the shot, right?
Yeah.
So in Minnesota, and this is all in our article, in order to implement this in, like the official immunization schedule, which means if you go to school, public or private, you have to be up to date on the immunization schedule. To get this implemented, it just has to pass the legislature with the governor's authorization, and the legislature will be controlled by Democrats. So there you go. That's scary and alone. Or the Department of Health commissioner can also do this. So you see why Action for Liberty is going to be fighting hard on this issue, because there's absolutely no way that this is going to happen under watch. And I'm happy to announce that we've worked with Mark Bashosky. If you came to our Christmas event, pull up our Christmas event. I totally forgot. Had this really good Christmas event last Thursday. Thank you to everyone that came out there. Packed the house. That's Jackson Harvey up on stage giving the opening speech. What a wonderful time. We actually heard from Dr. Neil Shaw, a very science-based lecture. I don't think it was too boring.
No, I think it was great.
Okay, it was very scientific, but I thought it was. I personally was just like, that's a great speech.
Oh yeah.
I gotta find out what he wants to do with it. I think it could be released. Anyhow, we announced that Mark Bashosky is joining our team to lead this effort against the vaccine mandates, because that guy is a hell of a fighter.
It was great. The Christmas party was great. It was fun to talk with lots of people. I had a lot of good connections, and people that have been watching the show, thank you guys very much. And thanks to everyone who came out. It was a great time, and I had fun giving out some MAGA hats. So everybody, I hope you had a great time. There was a good one. Yeah,
and I think it's worthy to note that we do a little auction at our event every year, and our state fair sign last year, King Walls, went for $3,100. This year it went for $5,100, $5,100 for our official state fair sign. Now we have 2, so the other one goes up at headquarters. We're just gonna have probably a wall of every year. So there you go. Screw you guys that don't want us at the state fair. We're bringing in lots of good money for our organization through that. All right, bring up the data from MDH. This is interesting. This is why they're pushing it. They show by numbers. Age and gender. Wait, hold on one second. This is Department of Health. No, hold on. By age and by gender. Where was the gender one? Scroll down. Do I not remember the? Oh, there you go. Do it by gender. Oh, okay. So okay, good. So they do account for other. That's what I was wondering. Were they just going to have 2 genders in there?
Right, yeah.
Now, this is a fascinating study here.
Right, that's interesting.
We are learning right firsthand that the Department of Health even admits that the other category of gender is a very small percentage. So let's see, people with at least 1 vaccine dose, I'm just doing the quick numbers, that's close to 4 million. And so other genders is 92.
Wow.
So what's 92 divided by 4 million?
Right.
That's where'd my phone go?
And there's also unknown and missing gender. So, there might be some of the stragglers in there too.
92 divided by 4 million. So other is 0.0023%. There we go. We better change children's sports, though. For
Yeah.
Other.
Right.
All right, so there you go. According to the Department of Health, we have got, and you know, the interesting thing is, and I was just going through and, doing my health care for 2023 or health insurance for 2023. And it's interesting. It's like only 2 genders. I mentioned that to my wife. There's only 2 gender options. And of course, good, there's only 2 gender options because it's science-based. It's healthcare.
Right.
And we should probably understand that there are only 2 genders, right? Or 4 or 6 or whatever it is. Z,
Right.
Zim, Zer. Speaking of pronouns, you got a picture of Elon Musk's new pronouns.
Yeah, absolutely. You should pull that tweet up there, Dawson. It's the tweet that everybody's been talking about
There you
around
go.
the world.
Elon
that,
Musk's pronouns are prosecute Fauci.
Yup, exactly. And, it couldn't have been said better. It really couldn't have been said better. And, it's got everybody losing their minds. These Democrats are getting mad about both Fauci and the pronouns. So he's hidden them twice.
I
with
know.
This
He's
tweet.
so triggered on that one.
Oh, yeah. And,
all right. You know what? I just so we are up to 6 people on Facebook. Yay! So we do have the disclaimer. Visit the thing. About 8% more or 7% more women get the vaccines than men. I guess we all drop big time when it gets up to date. That I actually hadn't looked up before, and I don't know what the other category looks like, but we'll ignore that for now because it's a statistical anomaly. Go back up and switch it back to age groups because this is what I want people to look at. Now, this chart here, and we posted this on the article at actionforliberty.com. When you look at half-year-olds to 4-year-olds, so up to 5-year-old, right? Because 4 years, 11 months, and 30 days, you're still in that category. So basically, you're a 5-year-old. It says that only 17% of the population, you see that light blue color, 17% of the population got vaccinated with 1 dose. The green is they are up to date, meaning they've gotten all their schedules on time, right? You might have got your schedules, but now you're out of date. Like, there's already a new one available. So I think you were missing or you were behind on one too. So regardless, up to date, and you can see there's not a much big difference when it comes to the small population or the youngest population. They didn't even get the 2nd dose, right? And so it's less than 5%. So hence the reason they're pushing big time in this category. Now, when you go up to the 65-plus-year-olds, and this is no shock to anyone, you had 95% got the original dose. It's always interesting to see the 3% drop on the second. Is that because people started getting leery? I know a lot of people that got the vaccine and regretted getting the vaccine. And I know a lot of people who say the reaction on the second, especially Moderna, was very problematic. Alpha News, before I forget, Alpha News, great article yesterday, great piece by Liz Collin about a family who lost their mother and was after one of her boosters, the Pfizer booster. So that was a fascinating story. Once again, go back to our Facebook page if you still got it handy. This is what we deal with. Scroll down. So there's 237. There's the article on the woman. 5 likes, 1 smiley face. Probably a lefty that's trolling us, right? So you see how they just suppress it, and then they put that little disclaimer. Now go. What's the article before that? God forbid. No, down. God forbid. Well, that's just a meme.
Yeah, that's a good story right there, though.
What's below that? That one's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Fauci, or I mean the Elon Musk. So
Yeah.
now we're back up to 180 likes. So you see what they're doing? They really suppress anytime you talk about vaccines. I'm probably not giving you guys breaking news. A lot of our people know this already. Mark Anderson writes, last week, another airline pilot died shortly after takeoff, was boosted 2 days before. Yeah, I saw that. I think it was American Airlines and like right after takeoff.
Oh, wow.
Some of the biggest allies with us, 11-year-olds, right? And then it's 18 to 49-year-olds. Like, we're all in the same category.
Yeah,
That's
right.
I don't know
the
why
same
they
health
did that.
standard, right?
Right. So the parents are in that category, right? Me being 40 years old, and I have 2 kids in that 6-month to 5-year-old range, and then another one that's a little older than that. So anyhow, we in the 18 to 49-year category, initially we're at 74% getting COVID shots, meaning I'm the 26% that resisted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess you're in that category
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Jesse. We dropped down to 12.7% when it comes to being updated. And I got a lot of friends that got the vaccine. I don't know. I'm trying to think, other than like people that I know that are older, I don't know anyone that I think is up to date. Because I think at that point you start categorizing them in that like COVID cultist category. You've literally bought into this bullshit. You probably only watch CNN or MSNBC.
Right.
You probably drive your car with a mask on, you know, without anyone else in it. That's the category you're in. One last thing I want to point out in this MDH data. Scroll down to the bottom. They break it out by race and an ethnicity. And us whites, I guess, we are very compliant people. We are in that 67%, right? And they break that down by children too. Looks like whites are also vaccinating their kids at a higher rate, the young ones. The one that's the lowest is 33.6%. We're right above, which is the multiracial, which I don't know what that even means here. I guess if they can't properly fix them into one group, they're going to consider them multiracial. So the next category that's lowest is on the very top, and that's Indian and Alaska Natives, which I don't know why do we have Alaska Natives? Is that a big population in Minnesota? I mean, I
Not
know what
that I
that means
know
in
of.
Alaska.
Right. I mean, there's natives, but, not too many Alaskan natives.
Okay, so Indians are at a 58%, and that's the initial. You can toggle up there. Do you see above, and you can toggle it? Not that one. I think it's that one. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The button go up to date right down there. So this will toggle how many are up to date. And in the American Indian population, is that 12.6%? Is that what I'm seeing? Yeah, it's 12.6%. So they're very low. Now, once again, MDH is pushing that kids get the vaccine, meaning I think they're seeing this data and they're like, oh, my God, we got to work on that group. I know that there's a billboard as you drive up towards Duluth. I think this is north of Hinckley, if I want to remember right. And it's about like it's like a message to the Indian community to go get your COVID vaccine. It's not that bad. Now, is it a big surprise that the Indian and black community is hesitant to get the vaccines?
No,
like
of
not
course
trust the
not.
government on medical
Yeah, I mean, all you
stuff?
got to do is look up the Clinton Foundation and see what they did in Rwanda, or you got to look up Bill Gates and saw what he did in Haiti. There's no question why these minorities are skeptical of these vaccines and these government-enforced medical treatments.
Right, exactly. Okay, any Rumble comments before we move on? Jesse wants to talk about the Twitter files here. Right there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, you all can. The science says children have zero risk. Now the experts are promoting jabs for children. Hence, it is not about science. It is about money.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, why get the children vaccinated? It doesn't even make any sense. Like, they don't have adverse reactions or they don't get very ill from COVID.
Right.
Everyone knows this. And they lie about that. They go, but I think Jan Malcolm even says this in this press release. Let me go find this here real quick. Because they have to address that. That's the big deal. Where is this? Scroll to the
Right,
bottom.
it's about
Our
money.
hospitals have been incredibly busy this fall. We want to do everything we can to keep children healthy, and vaccines are one of the best ways to do, said Commissioner Malcolm. She's going to be former commissioner soon. The diseases that vaccines prevent are real, even though we don't see them often. Now, see, she's jumping to all vaccines, right? So let's put them all together, which you shouldn't, right?
Right.
Letting our guard down with decreasing immunization rates opens the door for more disease outbreaks and disruptions of family life. Talk to your children's doctors. I thought she said something about, maybe I don't remember this correctly, or I was reading this somewhere else. Discussing concerns about your... Maybe I read that somewhere else, but at some point, well, this is interesting. So they say so this is state epidemiologist Ruth Linfield says these vaccines are safe and one of the best tools we have to protect our children's health. Vaccination helps keeps children safe and healthy and helps protect other vulnerable family members like grandma and grandpa by reducing spread. God, I don't know how I missed that when I read this before. I guess I was doing too many things. Once again, that's false. That's actually misinformation. It
Right.
does nothing to stop the spread of COVID. That's so obvious. Everyone knows this right now, and they're lying. This is a state epidemiologist.
Right.
Oh,
It's crazy. They want to keep up those lies of the stopping the spread and everything else, and that, the big lie in the beginning was that you weren't even going to catch COVID after the vaccine. So, they can't even keep their story straight.
I know, it's almost like, okay, this is it. All right, I knew I read this somewhere. Thankfully, children getting very sick from COVID-19 is not very common, but children do get COVID-19, and we can't predict which children will get very sick, so prevention is the best option, said Minnesota Health Commissioner Jan Malcolm. My God, Jake, what do you do? Like, I'm not paying attention when I'm reading. Listen to what she says. Prevention is the best option. Prevention of what?
Yeah. No, it's not about prevention.
This is the Commissioner of Health in Minnesota saying prevention.
Mm-hmm.
COVID vaccines do not prevent you from getting COVID.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
Yep, and they don't even want to talk about treatment. That was the big problem about COVID. It's that they don't want to talk about treating someone when they have COVID. They only want to talk about the vaccine and getting people to take the vaccine. What if someone has COVID? What should they do? And if you ask the left, well, you should have gotten the vaccine.
Yes.
No real questions on treatment, and that's why so many drugs were demonized during this process.
Exactly. I got to redo our article to just expose these damn lies.
Yeah.
Like, so those are two lies. And they just say it like this is truth. All right. So, quote, the best way to protect your child and your family is to get them vaccinated against COVID-19. And so, once again, when you say vaccinated against COVID-19, that kind of makes it sound like you're preventing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an immunity. You're creating immunity. In fact, once again, this is the immunization schedule. So immunization comes from the word immunity. Mm-hmm. The COVID vaccine does not create immunity to COVID-19.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
Yep.
Oh, my God, the lies of these guys. And this is why no one trusts you, and this is why people are not getting boosted, and this is why we're certainly not giving our kids stuff. All right, the best way to protect your child and your family is to get them vaccinated against COVID-19, and that includes the updated bivalent vaccine when they are due. So once again, lying health officials, which, I mean, you knew this, Dawson. You're not really even into this kind of stuff, but you knew that it doesn't prevent you from getting COVID, right? Actually, you know this directly, don't you?
Yeah, I don't mind sharing my COVID story, whatever. I got the Johnson & Johnson one, the one shot that happened like right at the beginning of the vaccinations or whatever. And then I got sick like you usually do after getting a shot, but it wasn't like bad or anything. And then a year later or something like that, I got what must have been like a Delta variant or whatever of COVID because it was bad. I was bedridden for like probably a week. Just I couldn't do anything.
Well, and you're not saying something like no one knows at this point. Like we've documented and reported many times that every major Democrat politician in the state of Minnesota, all the major ones, in fact, I think, wasn't it Walz that got it twice already? Mm-hmm. Biden and Fauci have gotten COVID twice. So it doesn't stop. It doesn't prevent you from getting COVID. These people are just chronic liars, and that's why we don't believe it. Senator-elect Nathan Wiesenberg says 0 and 26, you are more likely to die from the COVID shot than COVID. I don't know where you get that data, but I think a lot of us certainly are you saying ages 0 to 26? Yeah, I would probably buy that, right? Mm-hmm. It certainly seems like that's probably backed up. Well, we don't know if it's backed up because there's no studies. The VAERS system's overwhelmed with reports and underreported. Go back to that Alpha News article. Once again, Liz Collin did a great job on this, and this woman who passed away, and the family says she herself, the woman that passed away before she died, said that that's where it came from, or it was after the vaccine. So they all agree with that. It was on her death certificate as, from the vaccine. So a doctor put that on there. Wow. And that it doesn't get entered in the VAERS system. Nor when she first had her bad reaction to a previous booster was it in the VAERS system. Okay. Wonderful Heidi Kakamo, love Heidi Kakamo, by the way, writes, hospitals have been busy with RSV and influenza A. The pediatric ICUs were not full of COVID patients. Liars. There's a ton of shit going around in case you don't know that, right? I mean, Bridget keeps bringing it and spreading it around headquarters. Thanks, Bridget. That's an internal joke. No one gets that. You got it. So I think I've been sick colds. Not very sick, but like 3 times already this fall.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got the little kids and they're going to school and things are just getting passed around. So yeah, it's absolutely true that those ICUs are being filled with other things. And by the way, influenza much more dangerous to little kids than COVID.
Yep.
Okay, I think we beat this one to death. Let's move on, and you want to talk about the Twitter files.
Sure, yeah. So we were talking about Elon Musk just released his pronouns, which was very interesting to find out that he wants to point out the corruption and fraud that was going on between Twitter and Fauci. We even exposed on our website that Fauci's daughter worked for Twitter and that there was all kinds of corroboration and he was getting whatever he wants, Dr. Fauci was, from Twitter, that they were censoring whatever he wanted to. You could pull up that Fox News article that begins to explain what is the part 5 of this saga that Elon Musk has started, which is that Twitter did not believe that Trump actually violated the policy that would allow him to be removed. They said that he incited this violence. And go ahead and scroll down to that tweet there. That's Barry Weiss, who's going into one of the examples where a person working for Twitter said, that they're very skeptical of this type of censorship. They're from China, and that's something that they don't want to see happening in America. And what's pointed out in there is, there's a difference between censorship by the government and censorship to the government. So they admit that they were censoring the government, Donald Trump, the presidency, the White House, and there's zero proof that any time Trump or any official from the White House told Twitter to remove tweets. So as far as it has been proven, Trump and the administration was 100% pro-free speech, that they weren't trying to censor or prevent anybody. And what a low bar. We shouldn't have any president that's reaching out to social media companies dictating who stays and who goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a question for you because you're the official spokesperson for Donald Trump in this
2024, sure.
Yeah. Is he going to get back on Twitter? Because these revelations are really interesting.
Right.
Now Elon Musk allows his account to be back, but from my understanding, he hasn't tweeted at all.
Right. He hasn't done anything on Twitter yet. He still likes Truth Social quite a bit. He likes having his own platform. He hasn't given any reason for us to think he's going to go back on Twitter. Maybe he will, and especially if he won't be shadow banned like he was before, he can actually have his reach again, and he'll definitely have more reach on Twitter than he'll have on Truth Social. It's completely up to him, and something that William brought up last time was that there may be a no-compete clause for Trump, that he is saying that he will stick by Truth Social till the end and never rejoin Twitter. So it's all up to Trump on that one.
So where does this whole Twitter thing go from here? I mean, are they done? Because I haven't, I got the initial story. They did the Twitter files. That dump was it last Friday or was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah, I can't remember now off the top of my head.
Oh, my God.
Time's moving.
Yeah, I know. We put so much time into that Christmas event that
Right.
it's like just flew by. I just can't believe it's Christmas in like a week and
Right,
a half
it's
or
crazy.
whatever it is. Oh, my God. I got to shop. I got so
Yep.
much to do. What am I doing here, Dawson? What am I doing on the show? We got to move this along. Jeez, Jake.
Yep.
Got some Christmas shopping to do.
Right.
I think it was 2 Fridays ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've just kind of slowly released it. And I remember it was coming out. We're like, what's going on here? Like, what's this big release?
Right.
On a Friday night, which then I thought, well, of course, Friday night's fine on Twitter because it's not like the mainstream media is going to report on it.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, if you're not following this stuff, what is the best source for this? Elon Musk?
Actually, I was telling Dawson, Matt Taibbi, the person who was working directly with Elon Musk, and this guy is actually kind of a leftist, but he's a proper journalist. He's one of the only people that really is consistent, and he's a truth teller. He's a journalist in the truest sense of the word. Matt Taibbi's Twitter is up there right now. I encourage people to follow him himself because he is the one who's exposing all of this with Elon Musk, and there's very few journalists who do it like him. I've been watching him for years on different podcasts and shows, and Matt Taibbi is one of the few journalists that are left in our country.
What's the most shocking thing that you've seen come from the Twitter release?
Actually, I got a video queued up with Dawson. If we wanted to watch that, it goes into some of the specifics with the Trump details and everything else that's going on. So
Let's watch it.
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up. It's the Truth Social link. That's the one.
Taibbi of Substack has just posted the 3rd installment of the Twitter files. This is happening in real time. Fox's Trace Gallagher is the man we go to make sense of it. He joins us now. Hey, Trace.
Hey, Tucker, I've been kind of going through the entire thread, and by tweet number 17, Matt Taibbi's Twitter starts really getting into the relationship between Twitter and the federal government, saying, quote, during this time, executives were also clearly liaising with the federal enforcement and intelligence agencies about moderation of election-related content. Then, the policy director at Twitter wants to know how to describe this new relationship. Should it be a partnership with outside experts, he asked. Another exec says maybe just use the word partnerships. And these weekly meetings were not just with the FBI. They also included the Department of Homeland Security and the Director of National Intelligence. And then there's this reference to federal meetings and the Hunter Biden laptop story. Quoting here, what's new for you since our last check-in? Hacked materials exploded, says this person. We blocked the New York Post story, then we unblocked it, but said the opposite, then said we unblocked it, and now we're in a messy situation where our policy is in a shambles, comms is angry, reporters think we're idiots, and we're refactoring an exceedingly complex policy 18 days away from the election. Twitter was also getting messages from the FBI concerning things like mail-in ballots and the large number of mail-in ballots being rejected for errors. So in other words, the FBI is generating this process showing Twitter how to flag certain information. Matt Taibbi notes that during the entire election enforcement, quote, we didn't see one reference to a moderation request from the Trump campaign, the Trump White House, or Republicans generally, which of course is more evidence of one-sided enforcement policy. And we are also learning that former President Trump was being shut down in record time. Quoting here, Trump was being visibility filtered, that's a term, as late as a week before the election. Here, senior execs didn't appear to have a particular violation, but they still worked fast to make sure a fairly anodyne Trump tweet couldn't be replied to, shared, or liked. And as Taibbi notes, the execs seemed to be very pleased that Trump had been dealt with quickly, saying, quote, very well done on speed. It's astonishing in its totality, Tucker. We are continuing to cover the incoming tweets.
Yeah, you know, I just think, what the hell's going on with our country? Honestly, this is why people are so outraged about the 2020 election. Now, I could talk about this because we're not on YouTube right now. They changed the laws and voting, right?
Yep.
And then number two, now we know that the government actively worked to silence the president of the United States, but in this case, a candidate for the office of the president of the United States.
Right. And, you know, they use the term visibility filtered. So that's their word for shadow banning, which means that they were preventing Trump tweets from being able to be seen by the public. It wasn't popping up as often, and especially when he was talking about the fraud with the mail-in ballots. You know, Trump was talking about that all the time, and apparently the FBI was talking with Twitter and telling them there are allegations, there are things that are true, but Twitter took a hardline stance that anything that Trump was saying, any question of election fraud, couldn't be allowed. And they decided 90 minutes after they had concluded, Twitter concluded that Trump did not violate anything when it comes to incitement. I think I also sent that picture to you, Dawson, in an email. But essentially, they admit that after 90 minutes that they can't find anything wrong with Trump's tweet. And then you can see that Vijaya, she's the one who works at Twitter. She's saying, thanks to the FBI, we aren't able to find anything to call this an incitement. And they say that's an interesting question. We're going to take a poll. You know, we're going to go around and ask everybody what they think at our office. And then the Twitter lady says, I'm not asking for just an inquiry. I don't want to rely on that. I want you guys to be saying we're working in partnership and that this was the decision that ultimately had to be made. So they were looking for any excuse they can. She said, we're looking to see if we have anything of research in the past that's relevant. So they were looking, scratching for anything they could to try to get rid of Trump. And
then it goes without saying, then the FBI raids Donald Trump, Mar-a-Lago residence.
Yep, and that was the big thing.
So how if you're Donald Trump, you don't think this massive injustice has occurred to you? It's amazing he hasn't incited violence, honestly, at this point, because it's like, this is crazy what they've done to our country.
Right, and that was the big thing. They said he violated Twitter's policies, and that's why he had to be removed. Yeah. Now that we find out through Elon Musk and Matt Taibbi, Trump never violated the rules, and they had to nitpick and do anything they could to get him removed. So it's all proof that they were in the bag for Joe Biden the entire time.
And don't you love all these heroic celebrities now are leaving Twitter because how
Right.
dare we actually expose the truth?
Even Rocket Man Elton
Bye
John.
bye, Elton John. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the real Rocket Man's still in charge. at
Yep,
Twitter.
exactly. That's right. Yep, we got a new Rocket Man.
Do you wonder, like, is this like Kanye West thing planned?
In certain cases too.
Probably.
Yeah, people looking to make some money off him too. So like Milo Yiannopoulos and that Nick Fuentes, right?
Yeah.
It's like those types of people. Like those are some political oddballs that are just looking to stir the pot up as much as they can. So Kanye is the perfect person in their mind to do that.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, we're going to sign off. I don't know if we'll be back this week. Probably one more time before Christmas, and then we'll probably announce the big news on the next show, as I'm looking forward to January. We're going to do a lot more things in terms of video production and live shows and stuff like that. So just wait. You got to tune in next week, all right? or later this week, whenever we do it. We don't have a time schedule yet. That's probably one of the changes, Dawson, is we have a time schedule next year. We're just learning. We're literally learning the ropes here. We don't know what the hell we're doing. Dawson kind of knows what we're doing. We've somehow managed to build a studio and a set and all that kind of stuff, but we got a lot more in store for you in 2023. So anyhow, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.